You're mid-sentence. The words were right there a second ago, and then nothing. Your mind goes completely blank, your mouth just stops, and the person in front of you is still waiting, still looking at you, and every second of silence feels like it's screaming that you don't actually speak English at all. If that's ever happened to you, I need you to know something before we go any further. It has nothing to do with your intelligence and everything to do with something fixable. Today, we fix it. Welcome to Speakora English Flow. I'm Adam, and this is day 14 of our 30-day English Fluency Challenge. Today's topic is one of the most common and most rarely explained struggles in language learning: freezing mid-sentence. That sudden mental blank that hits even people who know the grammar, know the vocabulary, and can write perfectly correct sentences on paper, but completely lock up the moment they try to speak out loud in real time.
Hi, everyone. And honestly, Adam, this topic hits close to home for me, even now. There have been moments, even recently, where I knew exactly what I wanted to say, and then it just vanished. And the worst part is the silence afterward. It feels so much longer than it actually is.
That feeling you're describing, Luna, that stretched, panicked silence, that's one of the most universal experiences in language learning, and almost nobody talks about it directly. Most lessons teach vocabulary and grammar, but almost nobody explains what's actually happening in your brain during that freeze, or how to prevent it.
So there's an actual explanation for it? It's not just me being unprepared or not studying enough?
Not at all, and this is really important to understand. When you freeze mid-sentence, it's usually one of three things happening at once. First, you're mentally translating from your native language in real time, which takes enormous mental effort. Second, you're simultaneously trying to check your own grammar before you speak, essentially editing yourself as you go. And third, you're afraid of making a mistake in front of someone, which adds emotional pressure on top of everything else. Three things happening at once, in real time, under social pressure. No wonder your brain sometimes just stops.
When you break it down like that, it actually makes complete sense why it happens. I always thought it meant I wasn't ready to speak yet.
That belief, "I'm not ready yet," is honestly one of the most damaging myths in language learning, Luna, because it keeps people silent for years, waiting for a readiness that speaking itself is what actually builds. You don't wait until you're fluent to speak. Speaking, including the freezing, including the mistakes, is literally how fluency gets built.
That's such a relief to hear, honestly. It reframes the freeze from being a failure into just being part of the process.
Exactly. And today, we're giving you actual tools to use in that frozen moment, not to avoid it forever, because it will still happen sometimes, but to recover from it quickly and naturally, without the panic. Let's warm up with the very first tool: filler phrases, small pieces of language that buy you time to think without an awkward silent gap. Luna, imagine you're asked a question and you need a second to think. Instead of going silent, try saying, "That's a good question, let me think."
That's a good question. Let me think.
Perfect. And notice that phrase didn't answer anything yet, but it filled the space naturally, like a real native speaker pausing to gather their thoughts.
I actually really like that. It feels like permission to pause without it feeling broken.
That's exactly the right way to think about it, Luna. Let's try another one. Imagine you need a moment before answering something slightly more complex. Try, "Well, actually."
Well, actually, let me think about that for a second.
Excellent. And combining two fillers together works beautifully too. One more, a very common one native speakers use constantly.
I think that's true.
Beautiful. Three simple filler tools already, and each one does the same job. They protect you from silence while your brain catches up. Let's take these deeper now into real situations where freezing is most likely to happen and practice recovering from it smoothly.
All right, Luna, let's go into real conversation now, because these tools only really work once you've practiced them under a bit of real pressure, even simulated pressure like this.
Okay, I'm a little nervous, but that's honestly perfect for this topic.
That's exactly the right mindset. Let's start with a common freezing trigger: being asked an unexpected question. Luna, what's the most interesting thing that happened to you this year?
I... That's a good question.
let me think. I think actually learning English with this challenge has been one of the most interesting things, honestly.
Beautiful recovery, Luna. And did you notice you used the filler phrase naturally and then landed on a completely genuine, well-formed answer right after?
I did notice that, and it actually felt less panicked than it usually does. Like I had somewhere to put the pause instead of just going silent.
That's the entire mechanism working exactly as intended. Let's continue into roleplay now, since freezing tends to happen most in specific, predictable situations. Situation 1. Meeting someone new at an event and they ask an open-ended question.
Okay, ready.
So, what do you do for work?
Well, actually, I work in, I work in marketing, mostly focused on social media content.
Perfectly recovered, Luna, and that pause, instead of becoming a silent freeze, became a natural human moment of thought.
That felt so much better than just stopping completely. Like the conversation kept its rhythm even though I needed a second.
Exactly, and that rhythm is what native listeners actually respond to. Not perfect instant answers, but natural conversational flow, even with small pauses. Situation 2. A slightly higher pressure one, being asked a question you don't fully understand in a work meeting.
Okay, ready.
What are your thoughts on the new project timeline?
That's a good question. Let me think. I think, overall, the timeline seems reasonable, but I'd want to review the details more closely.
Beautifully handled. And notice you didn't need to have a perfect answer immediately. The filler phrase gave you exactly enough space to construct something genuinely thoughtful.
I think that's honestly the part that surprises me most, that the pause can make the answer sound more thoughtful, not less confident.
That's such an important realization, Luna, because most learners believe pausing signals weakness, when really, used well, it signals exactly the opposite, real thinking. Situation 3. A phone call, which tends to be one of the highest freezing risk situations, since there's no face or body language to rely on.
Okay, this one does make me a little nervous. Phone calls specifically.
That's completely normal. Phone calls remove a lot of the comfort of face-to-face conversation. Hello, this is regarding your appointment next week. Are you still available?
Yes, well, actually, let me just check my calendar quickly. Yes, that time still works for me.
Beautifully recovered again, Luna, and even added a completely natural, realistic action, checking a calendar, which bought you real time in a completely believable way.
That's actually a great trick, using something true and practical as part of the pause, not just a filler word.
That's an excellent insight, Luna, and it's honestly an advanced technique many learners never think of, combining a filler phrase with a real small action. Let's lock all of this in now with focused repetition and vocabulary specifically about this skill.
Okay, Luna, repetition round. I'll give you a sudden question, and I want you to respond using a filler phrase first every single time before your actual answer.
Ready, and honestly, a little excited to practice this properly.
What's your favorite season?
That's a good question. Let me think. I'd say autumn, definitely.
What's something you're proud of?
Well, actually, I'm proud of how consistent I've been with this challenge.
What's a skill you'd like to learn?
You know, I think I'd really like to learn how to cook better.
What's your opinion on remote work?
That's an interesting question. Let me think. I think it has real benefits, but it depends on the job.
What do you usually do on weekends?
Well, actually, I usually relax at home, but sometimes I see friends too.
What's a place you'd love to visit?
You know, I've always wanted to visit Japan, actually.
What's something that made you laugh recently?
That's a good question. Let me think. Honestly, something my sister said last week.
What's your favorite way to relax?
Well, actually, I really enjoy reading before bed.
What's a goal you have for this year?
You know, I think my biggest goal is just becoming more confident speaking English.
What's something you're currently learning?
That's an easy one, actually. English, obviously, through this exact challenge.
Fantastic. 10 unexpected questions and 10 smooth, natural recoveries using filler phrases every single time. Now, 8 vocabulary words focused on this specific skill.
Let's do it.
Adam, word 1, filler phrase, meaning a short phrase used to naturally fill a pause while thinking. For example, "That's a good question" is a useful filler phrase. Your turn.
I want to use more filler phrases instead of just going silent now.
Great usage. Word 2, freeze, meaning to suddenly become unable to speak or think, often from pressure or fear. For example, many learners freeze during unexpected questions. Try it.
I used to freeze a lot more before learning these tools today.
Excellent. Word 3, recover, meaning to return to normal speech or thought after a pause or mistake. For example, you recovered smoothly after that pause. Luna.
I'm getting much better at recovering quickly during conversations.
Perfect. Word 4, natural pause, meaning a normal human moment of silence while thinking, as opposed to an awkward freeze. For example, a natural pause actually sounds more confident than rushing. Your turn.
I'm learning to see a natural pause as okay, not something to fear.
Wonderful. Word 5, real time, meaning happening immediately in the moment without preparation. For example, speaking in real time is much harder than writing. Luna.
Real-time conversation is definitely more challenging than practicing alone.
Great example. Word 6, mental translation, meaning the process of translating from your native language in your head before speaking. For example, mental translation is one major cause of freezing. Try it.
I'm trying to reduce mental translation and think directly in English instead.
Excellent. Word 7, self-editing, meaning checking or correcting your own speech before you say it out loud. For example, too much self-editing can cause you to freeze. Luna.
I think I do too much self-editing before I even start speaking sometimes.
Beautiful. And word 8, conversational rhythm, meaning the natural back and forth flow of a spoken conversation, including pauses. For example, filler phrases help protect conversational rhythm. Your turn.
I want to protect conversational rhythm instead of stopping it completely when I pause.
That's the perfect concept to end on, Luna, because that's really what today's entire lesson has been about. Let's wrap up with a quiz, some focused tips, and your challenge before day 15.
All right, Luna, quiz time. 5 questions all about today's skill.
Ready.
Question 1. Name one of the 3 causes of freezing we discussed today.
Mental translation, self-editing, or fear of making a mistake.
Perfect. Question 2. Give an example of a filler phrase.
That's a good question. Let me think.
Excellent. Question 3. True or false? Pausing always signals weakness in conversation.
False. A natural pause can actually sound thoughtful and confident.
Wonderful. Question 4. What advanced technique did we discover combines a filler phrase with something real?
Combining a filler phrase with a real small action, like checking a calendar.
Perfect. And question 5. How do you feel about freezing mid-sentence now compared to the start of today?
Honestly, at the start, it felt like something shameful, like proof I wasn't good enough yet. Now, it feels like a completely normal part of speaking a second language, something with actual tools to manage, not something to be afraid of.
5 for 5, Luna, and that last answer genuinely captures the heart of today's lesson. Now, 5 tips to keep building this skill. Tip number 1. Memorize 3 or 4 filler phrases so deeply that they become automatic, since having them ready removes the need to think during the exact moment you're most likely to freeze. Tip number 2. Practice with slightly unpredictable questions like we did today, since predictable practice doesn't build real freezing resistance the way genuine surprise does. Tip number 3, let yourself pause on purpose sometimes, even when you know the answer, since normalizing pauses in low-pressure moments makes them feel natural in high-pressure moments too. Tip number 4, remind yourself that native speakers pause constantly too, since fluent speech was never about 0 pauses, it was always about smooth, natural ones. Tip number 5, don't judge a conversation by whether you froze, judge it by whether you recovered, since recovery, not perfection, is the real skill we're building.
Tip 5 really lands for me. I think I've always judged my English by whether I made a mistake, not by how I handled it afterward.
That shift in judgment, Luna, from avoiding mistakes to recovering well from them, that's honestly one of the biggest mindset changes in becoming a confident speaker. How do you feel heading into day 15?
Honestly, today felt less like a language lesson and more like a confidence lesson that happened to be about English.
That's a beautiful way to describe it, Luna, and it's completely accurate. Let's recap today. First, we identified the 3 real causes behind freezing mid-sentence: mental translation, self-editing, and fear. Second, we learned 3 practical filler phrases to protect against silent freezing. Third, we practiced recovering naturally in real conversation and 3 high-pressure role-play situations. Fourth, we repeated 10 unexpected questions, each recovered smoothly with a filler phrase. And fifth, we learned 8 new words to describe and discuss this skill with real understanding.
When you list it out like that, today feels like it gave me a genuine safety net for conversations, not just more vocabulary.
That's exactly what it is, Luna, a safety net, one you now know how to use. If today helped you feel less afraid of freezing up, give this video a like. It genuinely helps more learners find this challenge, especially beginners who've never heard this explained clearly before. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications, because tomorrow we continue building real, practical confidence, one skill at a time.
Here's your homework before tomorrow. Practice today's 3 filler phrases out loud, on their own, 5 times each, so they start becoming automatic in your mouth, not just your memory.
And in the comments, tell us, has this happened to you before? Freezing mid-sentence in a real conversation? We read every single one, and honestly, for a topic like this, just knowing you're not alone in it can make a real difference.
We're building real, usable confidence together now, not just more grammar rules.
Exactly, Luna. Freezing isn't a sign that you can't speak English. It's a sign that you're actually trying, in real time, under real pressure, which is the hardest and most valuable kind of practice there is. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and we'll see you tomorrow for day 15.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye, everyone.